Hey guys, today we're in a Ferrari 488 Spider, finished in Blu Corsa, one of the best Ferrari colors in my opinion. We're going to take out the 488 today and see what made it such a vast improvement from the 458. It's a fantastic day to have not only the roof down, but also to be in a turbocharged car. It is 65 degrees and it is just perfect conditions to let these turbos breathe. Because in this car, they definitely breathe.
Oh, wow. How much throttle was that?
Maybe 3/4, and that was 4th gear. So in the 488, you get a 3.9 liter twin turbocharged V8, 661 brake horsepower. Revs to 8,000 RPM. Obviously with the turbos, a much torquier motor, ton more power down low. It is night and day. You basically get an extra 100 horsepower over the 458. 0 to 60, 2.9 seconds. Top speed, 202 miles an hour. Gear changes are punchy, crisp, satisfying. Transmission, of course, just every year or every generation was getting better and better, and this is one of the best iterations of it, of course. 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and it lights up. Of course, you have the shift lights on the steering wheel. Typical Ferrari fashion, that is a staple at this point. Interior-wise, I mean, it pretty much just looks like a 458 in here. This one has some very lovely blue stitching, which I love. I love non-red Ferraris. It's kind of nice to just change it up. 93 million miles of headroom and glorious V8. Say it's probably the best sounding turbocharged motor there is out there. It's noticeably a deeper tone from the 458.
So I kind of like it.
I do know people who prefer the sound of the 488 over the 458. I'm not sure I'm one of them, but I mean, if you're going to go turbocharged, and Ferrari knew this, they were well aware that if they were going to turbocharge their cars from now on, they gotta deliver. There's no excuse, there's no, oh, but it's faster. It still has to sound like a Ferrari. Compared to, say, the competition, say, from McLaren, which of course they're all turbocharged, this sounds way better than any McLaren.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what they do, they will figure out a way to make it sound nice. Even the new 296 GTB, for being a V6, sounds incredible. Of course, being a modern Ferrari, you do have super quick steering. Just like the smallest inputs from the wheel, the nose darts right in, and very minimal effort to turn the wheel to turn. It's just telepathic steering. I wouldn't say it's as savage as a 720. It's not as quick. It's hard to keep up with how fast McLarens are. This just has the Italian flair to it that the British cars just can't quite capture. This still feels like a Ferrari. Well, second gear pull from 5. And you know what, for being turbocharged, there's not much lag. That was another obstacle that Ferrari knew they would have, is eliminating as much turbo lag as possible, keeping it linear like the old Ferraris. You have your sport mode, which is sort of your default setting. Your race mode, of course, stiffens everything up. Gear shifts are a bit more aggressive. Everything is just tightened up essentially. But it doesn't beat you up. I'd say it still rides pretty nice. These seats are actually pretty comfy. These are the standard seats, so they're not like the super heavy bolstered seats that are really aggressive, but they have enough bolstering where they're perfect for the street. I always kind of said the 458 was sort of the absolute limit or peak, I think, of like usable power on the street. And this is 100 more horsepower than that. And it is noticeably faster than that. You really are not going to use the power every day, I would say, but it is nice to know that you could. Like, it is nice. Like, if you have a Bugatti Veyron, right, you're like, oh, I'm not going to go 270 miles an hour, but it's nice to know that technically you could. 458 is one of the best looking Ferraris I think ever made. And the 488, of course, it looks very similar. Of course, you do have that pretty massive side intake now, which I actually like the way that looks quite a bit. There are parts of me that think the 488 is even better looking than the 458. You do have carbon ceramic brakes. Pedal feels fantastic. It's very smooth. Oh, another thing I love about that they did with the 488, with the 458, they had it where the valves would open up at, I don't know, 3.5 to 4,000 RPM, around that range. It meant that a lot of times when you were driving at sort of normal speed, you would tend to kind of just open and close the valves constantly, kind of awkwardly. And because the throttle response is so delicate in these cars, that it would just kind of be like it would just keep opening and closing and opening and closing, and people who are watching you drive, it makes it seem like you don't know what you're doing. With this car, it seems like the valves open up a little bit lower down. I like to be between 3,000 to 4,000 RPM at all times. Because it's lower down now, you pretty much always hear it open, and that means that you can hear the downshifts more often. It's small things like that that do make this car very enjoyable to drive. That was over so quickly because this car is so fast.
Yeah.
Once the torque and the speed kicks in, I feel like you don't really care about the noise. You sort of stop comparing it. So quick. It's like immediate. The downshifts are immediate. And I love the taillights. I do like the headlights. I mean, everything styling-wise, this is a very pretty car. And it, you know, the F8, we were expecting a bigger change because every couple of generations they change it up, but it looks just like this pretty much. So it's almost like they're nervous to change this style because they know it looks so good. So you have your bumpy road setting, which let's test that right now. Let's press it. Bumpy road mode. Let's go over some bumps. That was pretty bumpy, and it kind of, it really,
bad.
It wasn't bad. Like the difference from like a 3/4 throttle, half throttle to like full throttle is noticeable. Like look, I'm gonna go to about half, 3/4 and then full.
Oh yeah.
That turbo whistle is appreciated. It's not super loud like in some of the McLarens and whatnot, but it's appreciated. I mean, I think if you want a modern exotic, I think the F8s are just too expensive right now, but I think the 488s I think are better looking than the F8. They sound better. There's plenty fast. You don't need to go faster than this. You already didn't need to go any faster than in a 458. And yeah, here we are. Sounds better than any McLaren. The Lambos do still sound the best, but depending on how tall you are or whatnot, you might not fit in a Huracan that well. I do not. This is the best for any taller folk. Because this car was sort of the start of the sort of turbocharging era, we'll say, which eventually has turned into V6 turbocharging era. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel down below. This car is for sale here at European Exotic Center. Check out our website and view all the photos of the vehicle. And I will see you guys in the next one.